Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Konaja here. Welcome back to the Mindcrack server. Here from the basement of the Cone Abode. I have been working on trying to get a little bit more organized down here, and it's slow and steady progress. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Just like anything that I do in life, slow and steady progress. Yes. Also, today we are using the 1.14 texture pack preview. So basically this is the set of textures that is being proposed to be added in the next version of Minecraft, which is still some time away, but they're kind of trying to ease into it and get some feedback on some things. So I figured I would try it out and give some feedback as well. I used it a little bit yesterday. We were on the Farlander Patreon server, and that was their first day over there, so I experienced a lot of, just like vanilla terrain in the new texture pack. And today, I'm going to take a look at some build stuff. So far, from the basement here of the Cone Abode, looks really great. I am quite pleased and quite impressed with how these textures look. Yesterday on the Farlander server, I was a little iffy about how some of the natural textures look, like the stone textures, gravel and such. Some things are really kind of blurry and muddy looking, and they kind of blend together too much. But the crafted blocks, these made blocks, are looking really good. And there's no secret that I love the new glass. Glass has needed to be updated for a long time, and I am quite pleased with that. Otherwise it looks pretty much the same, doesn't it? Doesn't look that different. I see some subtle little differences. I feel like the bookshelves haven't been updated. Just judging by how they look versus everything else, that doesn't look like. Those changed. The cactus changed a bit. But yeah. Hi, door. Not displeased with any of this so far. Let me sleep off the night real quick in the new guest room, just in case Pyro wants to stop by. You never know. Maybe Pyro needs somewhere comfortable and familiar to sleep. We have a place. I don't think I have too terribly much. Those were words. Those were words that did not want to exit my mouth in the correct order. I don't think we have too terribly much housekeeping to do today. And because of the renewed Farland server, I ended up not being on here last night to do any work. I did do some late last week. Actually, I guess it was probably Saturday or Friday night. I was kind of having an off bit there, so I decided to just come on here and do a little designing and figuring out some details to pass the time. Hello, creeper and skeleton party. Not really the guests I had in mind for my lovely back patio. Yikes. Alright, I don't think... Oh, there was 3. Okay, we did get that creeper. Nice shot. Oh, hey, you saw me. Okay. What happened? What? There we go. Where's this jerk? There he is. Get out of my pool! Alright, was that everybody? Was that everybody? Apparently we need to work on some lighting for the backyard. What I was gonna say is I did a little work on the hot tub area to try and clean it up, and I think that was pretty effective. It still needs some more design, and honestly, the whole backyard needs some improvements. It looks very unclean. It looks cluttered. It doesn't look very designed. It's a little haphazard at the moment. But I've been playing around with some things. Leaves and mushrooms. Leaves, mushrooms, and vines. Cool combinations of blocks. I'm a particular big fan of the new leaf block textures, so all of those look pretty cool together. But yeah, this is going to be probably one of my projects of like off camera and just kind of messing around with. Today I have a very specific project in mind, and it's to do with the new... Who are you? Who are you? And why are you in my front yard? You're definitely a jungle tree. Is there a sign on it? Not that I see. Who did this, Biscuit? You were out here. Who done it? Who saw this? He doesn't know. Huh. I wonder... I think Brian said he was looking for a jungle. and I mentioned that I also wanted a jungle. What I actually want from a jungle is a cat. But it'd be nice to have jungle wood and cocoa beans at our disposal, just in case we want to make some brown things. Gee, I really want a cat, so I can name it Gravy. Biscuit and Gravy. I'm dumb. I'm sorry. Well, yeah, what I want to do is make our boathouse. Yes, that's what people told me to call it, the boathouse. However, it really is kind of more like a marina because I want to have many. Oh, hi, you. I'm sorry. Puffins, I didn't realize you were right there. I'm very sorry. I want to have more than one boat, and I want it to be like a boat shop. Like, you know, like, kind of like a garage, but for boats. Maybe that is a boathouse, I don't know. But I do want it to be right about here, and tucked into the mountain. And what I would like is a pathway, actually more of a hallway, a stairway? We'll say a stairway from there up to the basement of the Kona boat. And that is a pretty significant distance, actually. That is, let's see, 63, so 15, we'll say 15, 15, 63, all the way up to where the basement is at. And in there, I've had a project in mind for quite some time. And I have a very specific look in mind that I don't really know if it's going to look good or not, but it's something that's just been in my brain for a long time. So I'm gonna try and stick with it. We'll see how it goes. I got a lot of digging to do. I have a lot of digging to do though, and it's gonna start from here is where I would like it to start out from. I think. I guess if I started further back, then it would be less an issue to get down that low, because we're up at 91. Oh wow, 91 and like 50. So we only have 35 blocks to go that way, to go down 30-ish blocks? I know math. I'm very good at math. See, it might make more sense to start somewhere like here. And what I will need, the area that I will need is going to end up being... it needs to be a 6-tall tunnel stairway. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So 6 tall and 3 wide. That is the look that I have in mind. Is there anything else I need to address before I get started with that though? Because that's gonna be a big dig. Big dig. Oh, that's the wrong pick. Not really. I guess I worked on this a little bit too. Sometimes I pop on whenever Brian and Ryusuke are streaming. I guess just Ryusuke this weekend, but sometimes I do that and do a little work. I've noticed there's been quite a few. Sorry, Puffins. I know, Puffins. There's been quite a few posts and inquiries and interest, I think, in what's going on with the Mindcrack server lately. I don't know what exactly happened that spurred this interest. Is it because there's people playing on here, or is it just happenstance that people are like, remember Mindcrack? But yeah, I've noticed quite a few people having inquiries about what is going on here. So maybe that's a good sign. Maybe. I don't know. I think we've pretty much settled into our own groove here. There's one more thing that I wanted to show, and that is the cone. It got a stripe. Ryusuke recommended putting a stripe in it so it looked a little bit more cone-like, and I signed it. Oops, sorry. I signed it. Lava shouldn't be preserved in buckets. It should be seen. The Lava Preservation Society. So now it is known who has done this. I imagine it will take Jeff and Good at least 2 weeks to even notice that it's there. Observancy is not always their strong suit. How does this area all look? Pretty much the same. Really, I think my favorite of the new textures is the stone brick. Doesn't it look so much more defined? Like you can see the bricks, you can see the mortar of the bricks much clearer from a distance, and it just looks it looks a lot sharper, which is a little bit strange in contrast to some of the earthen blocks, which, especially like the sand, maybe look a little blurrier and muddier. So that's a little bit of a strange contrast. But maybe it's nice to have blocks that are, you know, different in contrast of natural versus man-made, if you will. I suppose that's an important distinction as well. I like the bridge, though. See, it's the brick, though. It's the brick that's doing it. The concrete didn't change very much because it's such a neutral color anyway. But yeah, that all looks pretty good. And boy, I'm glad that I got these lava walking boots, because this area would be pretty dangerous. Pretty dangerous to walk around. Okay, I think that's enough venturing and checking in. Let's go get to work. I got some digging to do, and I got some brain waves to wave today. Had a little bit of some rough goings-ons this weekend to have to do with Colanders, which was the Assetto Corsa racing league that I had started many years ago and decided to try and revive here recently to bring back some of that kind of content back to the channel, really. One of the things that I've been struggling with recently is finding a way to have sim racing content be part of what I do, because it is so very much important to me, and it's very important to my content. It's always been a large part of what I do and why I make videos at all. So it's been a struggle to try and find the right things to do to have that stuff on the channel. So bringing back the Colanders thing was an attempt by me to try and revive some of that. So there's been different levels of it in the past. Like we started actually with the iRacing stuff, and I got into a pretty lengthy discussion about this last night on stream because somebody asked coal. Somebody asked if I have any coal. I do, because I'm gonna need some torches. Somebody asked if I had any recommendations for where to start with sim racing, and this is something that people do approach me with pretty often. And the fact that people approach me with such questions is a pretty clear indicator that I am still well known for knowing stuff and being involved with sim racing. The problem is I don't really have anything currently that has anything to do with sim racing as part of the channel. I've pretty much stopped iRacing. Whoops, I didn't want to do that at all. Frick. Do I have any stone? Not that it matters, but it matters. Boop and a boop. Put that back in. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so this, from here on, it's a 45-degree angle down, right? Right. Sorry, sometimes I have to do the math before I can speak the words. But yeah, I have not done iRacing series in quite some time, and the reason for that is I simply don't have the time to dedicate to it to do well with it. I feel like if it's something that if I can't do well, I don't even want to do it, because I feel like I'm not doing it any justice, and I'm not proud of the results. And if I'm not proud of the results, then it doesn't feel very, very good to be presenting that stuff. But at the same time, I also am typically pretty vocal about how I always want to present the good with the bad. I don't want to sugarcoat anything, and this series is certainly a really strong case for that. because of the topics that I cover. You know, I typically talk about some pretty heavy topics, good or bad here, and that's the general philosophy that I want to have. That's the general way that I want to present my channel and just myself. The racing stuff has always been very much so the same way, where if I have a bad race, I want to be in a position where I'm comfortable showing that. If I just totally screw something up and I made a mistake, or maybe even somebody else, took me out or something like that, if I feel like I'm not comfortable posting that because the result was bad, then I'm not posting the videos for the right reason. And it's something that's always kind of bothered me with, in general, sim racing content, is that I feel like a lot of people do. They hide the bad. They only want to show the good because the general consensus is, to be popular, one must be good. And you must show that you are better than everyone else. I am not. I am not better than most people at sim racing, or well, pretty much anything. That's just a matter of fact. So that's why that's always been important for me. But at the same time, it's difficult. And it's difficult when there's a lack of positive, because sometimes there is. Sometimes I just get in a bad streak and things go wrong a lot. I can distinctly remember some iRacing seasons where I never had a result that I thought was good. I simply just never had a race where I met my own expectations. And if you know anything about me, I set pretty obnoxious expectations for myself sometimes. Like, I expect a lot out of myself. But at least at the time, it felt okay, because, and I think part of it was because I was doing what I was doing, which was live commentary in sim racing. At the time, that was a very novel idea, and it was something that, honestly, pretty much nobody else was doing that I knew of. Pretty much everybody that did sim racing content at the time either did post commentary or no commentary, or they had other commentary, like, play-by-play kind of stuff of like a broadcaster, like in esports. You know what I mean? Versus what I was doing was actually Let's Play inspired. The reason I started doing that stuff was because of Mindcrack. It was because of or people like Kurt that I saw them doing Let's Play commentary in games like Minecraft, or first-person shooters, or RPGs, or open-world games, and I thought, you know what? I bet you there's not many people that have tried that in racing. And I already knew beforehand that it was something that I did. I have always had an internal monologue going during the races anyway. I'm always, ever since I was a kid, like, I'm not talking back NASCAR 2003, no, before that, like NASCAR Racing 2 days. I would commentate my own races in my head. Literally, like more like TV commentary, but that was just something that I did. It's something I've always done. So to try and merge the two felt pretty natural. Look, I'm just looking for my coordinates, sorry. I need to go to 63, but then I need to get out to 1515. Okay, so this is actually, is this the bottom? Is it going to be a block at the bottom? Okay, this would be the bottom, and then 6 high from here. Got it. Yeah, so that was always a thing. That was never something that wasn't on my mind anyway. So when I got to start doing that kind of stuff, it was really cool. But like I said, the idea was novel, and the attention that early stuff got was actually way above expectations, I think because people thought it was, different and cool. Anymore, I don't know if it's because it's just not a novel idea anymore, or maybe at the end of the day, people have found they don't necessarily like that kind of content as much, or they prefer the either edited content, or they prefer the post commentary, the overdubbed. Obviously, live streams of races have gotten more popular, and typically what the case is there will be a broadcast station that will, one channel with a couple people doing commentary will commentate the race, and that's the way that they do it, and it's more like a TV presentation. So yeah, I don't know that the Let's Play style sim racing thing is necessarily as novel a concept or as accepted a concept as it once was. So there's that factor in it. Also add to that the fact that for me, the amount of content I make has very much so exponentially grown. Like, it used to be, like, back in the iRacing days, I would spend a week recording that iRacing video. I would literally spend 5 to 10 hours practicing, and then I would do multiple races to try and have, you know, the best one. Then I would do live commentary for all of them. Like, every one of those races, I would sit there and do live commentary for it, and then the editing and stuff. And at the end of the day, I simply, unfortunately, no longer have the time to dedicate to that. So the solution that I came up with was to do something a little bit less serious, because iRacing is very serious. And what I came up with was doing the multiplayer stuff in Assetto Corsa with community members, because I think they were more, we'll say, understanding of what was going on. There was a greater understanding of what the goal was with the races, and it was kind of in line with a Mindcrack UHC recording. Sure, it was a racing series, yes, but it was also meant to be for entertainment to some degree. And I don't mean that in that it was scripted, but I mean that in that it was definitely less competitive. It was less, you know, like hard-edged, white knuckle. This is as serious as real life, you know, style sim racing as typical iRacing tends to try and be. And it was very much so more intended to be a little bit lighthearted. But I think just due to the nature of the platform, due to the fact that it's sim racing, it lost that that feeling pretty early on, and it became much more a regular sim racing, let's say, league situation, and it became much more competitive. And I really think the vision was lost. The vision for what I set out to do was lost, because the vision always was for me to try and capture that. I just said the word capture really weird. To try and capture that kind of UHC feeling in a sim racing environment. Even UHC at its heyday, and if you don't know what UHC is, look up Mindcrack UHC, ended up getting a little too competitive at times. Hey, we're here. So I think the nature of any kind of competition-based video series is probably going to be susceptible to this. Is things just getting out of hand in the seriousness, and getting out of hand in the competitiveness, and it just lost the spirit of being a group of people getting together to try and make sim racing Let's Play style content. Because I'm not saying that nobody is left. There are people that do still do still do that style, but very few, and extremely few from that community. I felt like, you know, at first I felt like I had really inspired a whole group of people to do content like that. And in the end, that group got smaller and smaller, and as things kind of sharded and broke apart, it really lost that feeling. And part of me wished we were going to recapture some of that feeling in bringing this back, and it hasn't really done it. That never really happened. It never came back to feel like the kind of series that I anticipated it being. Here's where the topics get heavier. I think that's because I am a terrible leader. I simply am not a person cut out to lead anything. I do not have the ability to organize a group or organize people or, you know, just be the person in charge. That seems to be the case. And that's come up in many different facets. That's come up in many different ways. Ooh, wow, I'm getting some weird frame lag again today. But it's like particle based. I don't know what the deal is. But yeah, it came up a lot even in my work life. Even though I never took a position of any kind of supervisor, I never wanted to be anything near a supervisor because I know I'm not very good at it. There became times when people just generally looked for me to be in charge because of either just seniority or well, yeah, basically that, you know, tenure kind of. when you have done something for 10 years and you are skilled at it, people look to you to lead, whether you are in a position of leadership or not. And I know from that I just don't do well with it. I really don't. And the big problem is that I guess I hate to use this term because it sounds very derogatory against myself, but I'm just a little bit spineless. I don't. Whew, sorry, I got very carried away there. I hadn't taken a drink. I hadn't taken a breath. I got much too into that topic. Okay. All right. Everything's. I'm sorry, Biscuit. I know. Whew. Whew. Calm down. Everybody calm down. What? It's just me? Okay. I'll calm down. But yeah, it's just a repeating story for me there. And putting all the other factors aside, all the stuff I just talked about, how the concept of the original Conelanders and the racing series had kind of gotten away from me, and I wasn't happy with what it ended up being in many ways. At the end of the day, what really stopped me from doing it was trying to either be the leadership or trying to be strong enough to be considered the leader of it, because it's very much so the case. That's a problem. It's very much so the case that in a situation like that, if you aren't the leader, you're going to get walked over, and in that, when you get walked over, you lose your goals. You lose your vision. You're no longer in control, and it spirals out of control, you know, outside of the realm of what you wanted. And if you're not strong enough to maintain control, then that's gonna happen. That's gonna happen really fast, and that's exactly what I experienced there. The first go around is that I just really spun out of control, and racing reference, and it became something completely different from what I envisioned. Very much so outside of my own control. Other people who were maybe stronger in personality and had stronger backbones, they they overwhelmed me rather quickly. And yeah, that's why that kind of went away. It lost what it was because I couldn't do it. And on top of that, the pressure that I put on myself to run the things really was a detriment to me enjoying it. I felt like I never fully put effort into the racing. Not because like the leadership stuff was so daunting or it was there was so much to do. It wasn't so much that. It just the two forms of anxiety would stack because it is important to me. My results in a race, even if it's a sim race, that means absolutely nothing to the world. Not that any kind of racing means anything in the world, but you know what I mean. It's still important to me because it's something I'm super passionate about. There is very few things in this world that I am very competitive about or passionate about, but racing is one of them. So when I don't do well or I don't meet my expectations, I get upset about it, and it makes me unhappy. So I do take it very seriously. So there's that bit of anxiety to go with it, and then the anxiety of dealing with a group of people, even if those people are your friends or your peers, and then dealing with the logistics of the stuff, it all kind of adds up to make it a tough time. The breaking point has been pretty much the same every single time, and this is I am placing 100% of the blame on myself here because that's where the blame should be, and that is that something will happen, something will go wrong, because things, nothing ever goes perfectly smoothly. There's always a catch somewhere, especially with the kind of stuff that we're trying to do. At the end of the day, something goes wrong. That makes me unhappy, or gets me anxious and feeling out of it. But then the people that are part of the series or the group or are racing with us, they're also on edge because they want to do well. Very few people get into any kind of a racing series and don't care about it and don't care about doing well and don't take it, personally when they don't do well. That's just not how it works. Typically, if you're involved with something like that, you're in it to win it and you want to do well, or at least you want to do as well as you can. I'm typically never in it to win it because I don't ever win, but I want to do as well as I can. Quick snooze. Okay, let me go grab. I need some roses. I'm gonna go grab some roses, and that might be it for the day. Yeah, it's everybody is got the adrenaline going and whatnot, and then everyone's a little bit more on edge in those situations. And in that, I find that people can be particularly disrespectful and maybe a little bit harsher. And in that, when things go wrong, I'm already feeling bad. I was already anxious about the race, and then something, goes wrong, and all of a sudden a bunch of people like jump down my throat, or are all of a sudden kind of viscerally upset more than usual. Then it all just adds up together, and I simply can't do it. I just, my brain shuts down. Just total system failure. And it took 4 weeks for it to happen, but on Sunday, during our Conelanders season finale, it happened. Like just total, my brain just completely shut off, and it got ugly. It wasn't good, and it wasn't a good time, and it made me feel bad, and that's not good. That's not a happy feeling. That's not where I want to be. So yeah, I just don't know. I don't know that I'll ever be in a position where I can do that kind of stuff, which sucks because I have this huge desire to do that kind of stuff, you know? It's something that obviously I'm ridiculously passionate about because I keep coming back to it. No matter how many times I end up failing at it, I always come back. And I feel like that's something that's probably common in our human nature. I feel like that's something that a lot of us go through. There has to be something, you person that's listening, there has to be something that you're just like seriously passionate about and borderline obsessed about, and you're just committed to making it happen. But at the end of the day, it's just not something you're capable of, or it's just not something that your personal abilities line up with. And how do you deal with that? Like, how do you break the habit, I guess? How do you break yourself out of that cycle? Or is there no breaking out of the cycle? Is it something that's just so ingrained in who you are and what you want to do that it's something you'll just chase until the day you die? is that how that works? Maybe. And this is, it may sound like I'm making a big deal out of nothing, but it's a much broader topic than just like a sim racing league or whatever. No, it's much broader. You know, just being overall being in a leadership position in anything is something that causes me great levels of anxiety, but at the same time, I seem to crave. That seems like a pretty bad combination to crave leadership and then be just like naturally inept at it. That's not a great combination. Good news is, even though that did, you know, it put me in a bad way, and I certainly was feeling pretty down in the dumps on Sunday. I do have a network of people around me that I think know me well enough at this point that I feel like there's enough people around me to help me kind of get out of those ruts and help me snap out of it. And yeah, I did snap out of it pretty quickly on Sunday, and yeah, you know, it's Monday now, and I'm already feeling comfortable enough with the situation that I'm talking about it. So it's obviously not something that's been like hugely detrimental or that I'm seriously upset about. It's just something that I've been thinking about, and I wanted to talk through today and try to throw the subject out there and see maybe what people, what do I want to do here? See what people think about it, and your own personal ties to that kind of stuff. I'm gonna leave it there. Kind of a longer one, not terribly. We didn't do a terribly large amount of work today, but we started the new project. It's actually not as big as I expected. That's what she said, and I'll see you Wednesday. Bye-bye.